But maybe there's things that we could learn from anarchist tendencies, and apply. You don't have to take everything wholesale and take everything some ideology says and think it's 100% correct.
You don't have to do that. I like to harbor anarchist tendencies. That's the level of anarchism I feel comfortable with at this point. Tendencies. I think maybe everybody should have anarchist tendencies, because what does that mean? That means that if push comes to shove, that you'll be willing to be completely self-governed or governmentless. And maybe that's right. Like if you have a relationship, you should be willing to leave the person at some point, right? There shouldn't be a relationship where you say, no matter what, I'll never leave you. What if they start like beating you? Or if you find out that they're like, they love really bad film, you have to have a line where you say enough is enough. And maybe that's what anarchist tendencies are. That's the line where you say enough is enough. That's what they say in this movie. I guess
we're talking about anarchy briefly for some reason.
It's the word of the podcast, asshole.
No, I fooled you. It's not the word of the podcast. Archon is the word of the podcast. But anyway, so I think of it maybe a little bit more as less a decision than a potential necessity. Mm-hmm. So if things get really bad in any given situation, and there's problems with the ruler, mm-hmm. whether that be through their own fault, whether it be through a kind of tyranny or a totalitarian mindset, or just simply the breakdown of systems which support and give legitimacy to that ruler through no fault of their own particularly. If that happens, then you are potentially going to find yourself in varying levels of a state of anarchy. So what I would say is simply be prepared in case that happens. And I know everybody thinks that it's all kind of a joke right now, and it's all kind of fun. But do you remember just a year ago or so, or a little more, in the height of the pandemic and everything, a whole bunch of people I knew were buying guns.
Dude,
not just people on the right, people on the left. People were running out buying a whole lot of guns. Now,
I looked I was looking through my pictures on my phone the other day, and I found from towards the beginning of the pandemic, this very esteemed historian and writer listing out on Twitter, you need to get canned goods. You need to get these type of things that are non-perishable. Make sure you have a way to filter water. Things if society collapsed. And now here we are recording a podcast and, being fine and having Coachella and shit or whatever. It didn't come to pass. But there was that moment where everybody was like, is this the time? Am I going to have to fend for myself? And in that moment, you better hope that you had cultivated your anarchist tendencies. Am I right? Is this right?
This is where we need a sponsor for where it's the canned food sponsor, that you see on a lot of more libertarian or right wing podcasts where it's awesome. Buy your gallon of pasta for the end times or whatever. We really need better sponsors
that I want.
I guess my point was simply, there's a level of preparedness to sustain yourself through times of trouble that might be related to the idea of anarchy. I'm not convinced that anarchy is a great idea. And I think in this film you see that moment. That moment's very telling to me, where the guy just runs into a gas station and shoots in the air and robs him and says anarchy in the UK. Now, to be fair, I don't think that's what Alan Moore or Michael Malice would suggest is the great, is the culmination of anarchy, left or right, is someone robbing a gas station. I don't think that's what they're saying, and I don't think that's what they believe. But
no, I think that part of the movie is actually the display of the chaos that comes when the too heavy order breaks down. So, right, that's when things start to break down that much, you just get pure chaos, which is that scene. It's not that's not the philosophy of anarchy. That's just a robbery and chaos, with someone shouting anarchy. So I think that's how I interpreted that. I didn't actually think that was an anarchist.
My point of view is similar to yours in that I think there are anarchist tendencies that everyone should be familiar with. Cultivating a little bit of personal anarchy.